defense! Defense!
Hey, motherfucker! Why don't you put her in charge?
Better just start dealing with it, Hudson. Deal with it because we need you and I'm sick of your bullshit.
But you're a dirty ace. Not patient.
There go the goddamn brownies.
And we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the big, brand new second issue of the Spinner Rack. I'm Tyler Baker, and with me is the chuckles to my Mercer, Nathan Kennedy.
All right. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take some chuckles.
Yeah,
he was my favorite G.I. Joe figure as a kid, honestly. Even maybe above Snake Eyes, just because he had blonde hair. I'm like, that kind of looks like me, so I would pretend that I was Chuckles. I think I may have mentioned that before,
but hey, this is a comic book podcast. G.I. Joe is comic book heavy.
G.I. Joe was fair game.
Yeah, so you can bet your ass we'll definitely tackle some G.I. Joe on this podcast.
And if people are wondering, because they're like, hey, sirs, it is Friday night at 9:30 p.m. How are you live? I didn't have work today. In fact, I didn't have work yesterday either because, hey, part shortages and stuff. So I got the last 2 days off. I hit Tyler up yesterday, right? And I was like, hey, if you want to do something, you want to talk about another issue of a comic, let's make it happen. He's like, it'll be late. We'll both be tired, but we'll get it done. Hey, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. I'm not dragging. I mean, I'll be ready to hit the pillar pretty hard when we're done. But
as soon as we're done, Tyler will be passed out.
Yeah, but just like having conversations, just me and Nathan, like, even though we text all the time, we're in constant contact all the time. But yeah, this is like us hanging out as well. So it was, when I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh my god, this is like around 5:15 this morning, like. I better tell Nathan, like, I'm not going to be able to do this tonight.
I was wondering. I was like, am I going to get a text at some point? Which is why I had this scheduled, but I had it private. So none of you guys at home could see it. So that's why if some of you were like, oh, hey, what the hell? I purposely did that because I didn't want to have to do it last minute. Or if Tyler hit me up like an hour before, was like, hey, you know what, man, let's just can it, not worry about it, then I can just delete it. No harm, no foul. So, Fedmon, you got here
2 hours ago, man. You should have been here, dude.
Well, see you next week. No, we just started 3.5 minutes ago. So you guys
maybe about 20, 15 minutes of bullshit before the podcast too. Yeah.
So just anybody else that filters in after this, feel free to give them hell about it. But hey, this is proof that notifications do in fact work. Yeah, I actually got the notification on my phone that we were live, so I know that it works. So I'm glad you guys are here, and thank you, Monkey Boy Toys, for joining us at 2:30 a.m.
That's time. Devotion, so we appreciate that.
Hopefully we don't put you to sleep.
Yeah, well, hopefully we just get you energized about wanting to read some comics, or maybe you watch the Dolph Lundgren Punisher.
Dolph
Lundgren. That's like the Roger Corman version of Dolph there.
His last name is hard to pronounce. Let's be honest, it is.
Lundgren. Yeah, if you say it fast, Lundgren, I mean.
A lot of people say Lundgren.
Yeah, because I had trouble like trying to figure out how to pronounce his name when I was little. Like, when I would see his name pop up, like, that's him, man, like Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, it was, until you actually hear people actually pronounce it, man.
We're getting all the UK peeps in here.
Well, hey,
all the night out UK
God save
peeps.
the Queen there.
If you guys feel that way, I don't. Politics over there with the Queen and stuff's kind of special.
I just said just
Meghan Markle and Harry, Prince Harry, and all that stuff.
All that shit.
I don't know. I don't read any of the tabloids, man.
I'm stereotyping people in the UK. That's why I say it, because I'm being an asshole.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. That's what I do. It's my person. If I wasn't an asshole on here, I think people would be upset. Like Tyler's just kind of like he's all like on Ritalin and shit. Like he's all calm and stuff.
It's like last week when someone in the chat, since Joe wasn't on Fans of Power, they're like, can you there's not enough fucks. Can you guys just say fuck? And I feel like there's just not enough going on.
Well, clearly they didn't hear us, throw out a few choice words, like as if Joe was the only person who cusses. It was like, no, if anything, he puts up that bullshit shtick of like, I can't cuss. I mean, like someone they watch it with their
Knock something over. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. But as you guys have seen in the title this week, we're going to be talking about issue 4 of. Is it just Punisher or the Punisher? Just Punisher.
There's just Punisher. I guess for anyone else, would just refer to as Welcome Back, Frank.
And this only ran for 12 issues. This
arc, and then the second one starts. Same artist, same writer, and they would have a long run together before Steve Dillon was not on the book for whatever reason. I stopped reading it after that. I said, "Fuck this."
So this is kind of more of a test run, essentially.
No, they did because they did a couple of runs together like that lasted a few years, and then like one guy would come in, and then Steve would be back, and then I think he kind of did it on and off if I remember. But like I said, when Steve wasn't drawing it, I wasn't reading it.
And it says here,
I'm just that of a stickler for
like your artist, and I mean. I guess that was a question we never really touched on in the first issue of the Spinner Rack, is because we had gone back quite a ways for those 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Now, because the vast majority of those, yeah, sure, some issues are hit and miss, but you could always back then count on the art. I feel like as we got towards the new millennium, that's when the art started. It's when it was more art specific, and that I feel like, even though I wasn't reading these at the time, I feel like maybe you were going through and reading, like getting excited about each of the things coming out, because this is also around the time that Marvel decided essentially just to reboot a lot of things and have Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Fantastic Four, and I guess to an extent this was essentially falls in line with the same thing. It's just no Ultimate in the title.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad it was just part of the Marvel Knights kind of subgenre where it's a little bit more adult oriented, and like the Punisher had kind of gone through a rough patch in the late 90s, and this is 2000, I think, when this came out, and I discovered this like right after this first art finished up, and the second art had just started. And
because you think 12 issues here, this would roughly wrap up and towards the tail end 2001 if these were coming out monthly, because it's saying here for issue 4 it was published on July 1st 2000. But going back to what I was saying before, is this kind of when you really started getting picky about writers and artists that you would want in these books? Were you noticing a lot more of the art's really good, and because I know you're a big fan of Ultimate Spider-Man. You've been championing that for a while. I have really gotten into it the last few weeks, like I said the last time that we were here on the show. But I imagine you were like dipping your toes in all the different Ultimate series, and that's when it comes down to it. Was art a factor? I'm assuming writing was also a factor. Well, what was your kind of in that moment? How are you feeling about all of this?
If I don't like the visual, it's hard for me to give it a shot. Like unless it's like a reputable like writer that I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with his stuff. Like I'll look at it, flip through it, like it's tolerable or whatever. But art is a big thing for me. And I didn't start noticing that till Maximum Carnage, when it was going on and trying to pick up different parts, and I'm like, well, I like how Amazing Spider-Man was looking, which Mark Mag was the one doing Amazing Spider-Man, because I would compare like Spectacular Spider-Man, which I have now grown to love. Sal Buscema, who drew that for many, many years. I used to hate his artwork. Now I love it. But Mark's I thought was the best, and I just like, why can't Spider-Man always look like this? Like, okay, this issue looks a little bit better. It's not as good as Amazing, but it's still good. And I really just started to appreciate more finesse and more realism, more grit. I always think of Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, David Finch, Michael Turner, Steve Dillon. We'll talk about tonight, and Mark Bagley, Andy and Adam Kubert, like the run on X-Men and Ghost Rider. I think they worked on Ghost Rider. But I just love how those guys drew toughness. They make the women beautiful and sexy. The villains look dastardly. They're evil sons of bitches. The heroes are strong. They're muscular. They look like I want to look like him. And some people just draw sloppy messes with the excessive shadows, and it's just ugly.
Well, I was gonna say this, that it does seem like that when we approach this ultimate era of comics, that they did kind of have a style that they sort of wanted everyone to across the board kind of have.
Well, from a visual standpoint, in terms of like, it's a more modern look.
Yeah.
Like everyone's been modernized. Like the Fantastic Four were, Iron Man was, the Avengers / Ultimates were.
Which, speaking of, from reading Ultimate Spider-Man, and there's quite a few issues where the Fantastic Four do show up, I can say that I'm kind of not a fan of the design of Reed Richards, and I know that they're all supposed to be like 18, 19 years old here. But there's just something about it, and the suits themselves I wasn't really vibing with. Now, there might be a point where I go and like start to read them just to see how I feel about the storytelling involved in it, because I'm kind of the direct opposite of you. Like, yeah, I like artwork, and if artwork's really good, it's really good. But if it is a little subpar and not as great, I still am like, well, what does the story have? Can the story hold the weight and pick up the slack for what the art is lacking? And sometimes it can, and sometimes it doesn't. But it does seem like, from reading this and Ultimate Spider-Man and seeing all that stuff, I'm like, okay, I really do. It's like, here's this modern style. This is what we're going to go with. Why do they do that? Is it because when they have all these crossovers, it's almost easier between the artists on each book to kind of, I guess, copy it, since it's all supposed to kind of look the same?
I think it's more about like trying to bring in a modern audience to make it look like it's more accessible by looking more what they call up to date, more what you'd expect a superhero would look like in 2022 and 2023.
Yeah,
changing their overall look, which is why like the X-Men have an kind of like a black and gold kind of motif. Spider-Man is 16 years old. Yeah. His hairstyle is different. The Fantastic
His hairstyle is very shaggy. Like, when I was reading it, I'm like, that's the hairstyle that like I rocked in high school, and then Tyler had kind of, sort of, in ninth grade.
It was kind of like
before he cut it real short. Well, the other thing,
but the Punisher is not connected at all. It's just like it was part like Daredevil and Ghost Rider, and it's just,
well, like as you said, Marvel Knights, which is they always, I feel like, have tried to make that a little more segregated from everybody else, because all of these heroes, for the, well, I mean, one could, because Ghost Rider is part of that, right? I was gonna say most of Marvel Knights seem like are more characters that are like sort of grounded compared.
They're the more street level heroes.
Yeah,
which I feel like you could make Spider-Man that, because he's not, even though you could easily make him a more street level superhero, along with like Iron Fist and Shang-Chi, Blade,
which you get that in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. He starts really mingling with all of those guys. Moon Knight, Daredevil, Shang-Chi.
Iron Fist shows up.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask, because you're talking about we're talking about the modern art and the accessibility to these comics. So do you think that played a huge part in, because jumping from reading the books in the 70s, 80s, early 90s that I've been reading, to jumping to that, it seems a little less dialogue, a lot more like flash and substance in terms of fight scene. Like, it's easier to blow through these comics, because the Ultimate Spider-Man comics I was breezing through, because you get the setup, and then there'll be like a good 4 or 5 pages where there's minimal dialogue or like a big splash page, and then the rest of it's just like little action beats to kind of show like every punch inching closer. Is that also played a role into, hey, if we make it like this more accessible, and I guess I don't want to say dumb it down, but just there's less to read, that maybe it would hook them more. Like, did you ever have an opinion on that when you were?
No, I mean,
into
really,
at
it
the
was
time?
more about too that they wanted to just jump right in, or to jump right into anything that had been going on for as long as Spider-Man or X-Men or Fantastic Four had, is concerning for anybody who's new, because you've got decades of back history to figure out how this character got here. Why did this happen? Why is this character doing this right now?
Yeah.
And to start it fresh with Ultimate, and kind of start pretty much like, hey, we can retell everything but put a different spin on it. But starting at the beginning again allows us to keep what has been going on for years, because we got diehards who don't want the continuity fucked with, and then we can kind of do our own thing in this kind of pocket setup. I don't want to say universe, but they do. That's pretty much what they make it. It's
Come on, man.
multiverse.
Yeah.
But it just allows them to like have fun with retelling, the origin stories, and mixing it up a bit, which I found it quite enjoyable, especially when these were coming out. I was at the right age,
Yeah.
being in high school when Ultimate Spider-Man starts, so it was extremely relatable.
And I'm pissed. I did not follow your lead when you came over with Spider-Man on PS1. It's like, hey, isn't this cool? And Spider-Man cool? And it's like, wrestling, blah, blah, blah. That I wish I would have gotten into it at the same time as well, just because it was, even reading it now, I was reading it and I'm like, man, would I have loved this part back in high school? Which I'm actually going to pop this up now from Fedbon. The first Ultimate Spidey was dating MJ, Gwen Stacy, and Kitty Pryde at the same time, and that is not true. He was dating MJ. Gwen Stacy shows up. She ends up living with him and May, but they're not dating. MJ gets really jealous about it. But then when Spidey decides that MJ's too much in danger and everything, and he's already met Kitty Pryde when he has this little bit with the X-Men, they start dating because he's like, well, she can protect herself.
Yeah.
And then when MJ's almost in danger again, he kind of rekindles with that. And then he's, I guess one could say he's dating them both at the same time, because MJ's like, you need to break up with Kitty Pryde. You need to let her know. But that's kind of where I'm at now, is
which I was like, this is bullshit. I wanted to date Kitty Pryde for a while because she's fucking hot.
She just enrolled at their school, and he's like, what are you doing here? Did you do this on purpose? Like, no, my mom moved because she left Xavier's school. So that's where I'm at right now with it. So, but yeah,
I was unhappy.
He wasn't dating all three of them at the same time. He only dated two of them at the same time, and it was very, very, very briefly. It's like a few issues.
Yeah.
Well, and
I was kind of disappointed that, I guess one of the fun things about Spider-Man is like all the multiple like loves that he's had.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people are still upset that, people, a lot of hardcore fans want him to stay married to MJ, whereas like it would be fun to see him,
fuck around with Black Cat for a while.
Black Cat, or whoever, which I mean, there is a run in I think it's Web of Spider-Man, for like, I mean, a good run is they are a couple, like they are dating, they're fighting crime together, like it's I mean, it lasts for a while, so it's kind of fun to see that Spider-Man's had a lot of loves in his life, and it's always interesting to see them balancing fighting crime, maintaining a love life,
never
making
really
a woman
working out that well,
and it doesn't work out. It's but that's part of the drama, and when you're a guy, you can relate to those.
Especially when you're in high school.
Yes,
I would have fed off of that instantaneously.
Oh my god, man! It was, even though like I couldn't get girls to talk to me to save my life when this was coming out.
Yeah, but so you could live vicariously through him,
and that's what I did. Like it was so much fun to fantasize. Like, what if that was me, and like a girl that looked like MJ was my friend, and there was flirtations there, and like to like bring her over and tell her I'm Spider-Man. Like it was like so relatable.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 13 is a very fantastic issue. The whole thing just revolves around him revealing his secret to MJ.
I was shocked as hell too when that came out, and I saw that on the rack. I'm like,
yeah,
holy shit! They're like this.
They're going to do it.
They're going to do this. Like this better not be one of those bullshit covers where you see it on the cover and it doesn't even happen.
Yeah,
which happens a lot.
Jaime Mara says, what issue am I at specifically? I did have to look it up. I am on issue 107, Ultimate Knights Part 2. So this is where he's heavily involved, as we were talking about. We got here on the cover, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, and Moon Knight. So, but that's going to be a conversation down the road for another day, because I feel like after I'm done reading Ultimate Spider-Man, I kind of just want to talk. I mean, down the road, we'll come back to specific issues, but I kind of just want to talk about like the whole run and talk about my favorite parts and some of the stuff which admittedly has been not a lot of things, but there have been a few things that I was just like, ugh, I didn't like how that happened. And there was one in particular that you had mentioned that I would agree with. But like I said, conversation for another day, and I actually need to open my app back up and bring up the issue of Punisher again so I can flip through it as we read along here. Oh, man. I went to issue 5 where I had finished reading that one. All right, here we go.
Now, you had read Welcome Back, Frank, too, many, many years ago, too, right?
I think so.
I thought for certain you had read at least the first 12 issues.
I'm gonna honestly
Steve Dillon run.
I'm gonna say no. Actually,
God,
I must have lied to you. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time.
Hey.
But yes, published July 1st, 2000. I almost said Gareth. Garth Ennis, writer. Steve Dillon, penciler, and Jimmy. How do you pronounce that last name? Palmiotti.
Well, I don't have the credits here. I just
Palmiotti.
Oh, I recognize the name. I have no idea how you pronounce it correctly. I do not. I know. Yeah.
Sorry to everybody out there who, if you're offended.
Yeah, we're showing our lack of professionalism here. I mean, but my focus is on the main artist and the writer, and that's Garth and Steve. I can remember it, but yeah, Jim. I remember his name. I've just never said it out loud. So
this issue starts off pretty fucked up, honestly.
Yes, and I have not read all of Welcome Back, Frank in a long time, but I remember it because I read it so many times because I was in love with this run of the Punisher. Like this kind of made me a legitimate, even though I always liked the Punisher as a kid.
Yeah,
it was cool when he would show up in cartoons or in comics or getting the action figures. I really thought he was cool. But this is what solidified like me as a Punisher fan was reading the first couple of runs that Garth and Steve did together. I was like, oh my god, like I love this character. Like he was up there with Spider-Man in terms of like my favorite. It was fucking. It was like it was amazing how awesome the world of the Punisher, and that Garth is not afraid to be dark, and the most
Clearly.
like yeah.
I mean, we start off here where we have. Should we call them cops or call them detectives?
Detectives. We'll just say that, yeah.
So we have a couple of detectives, and I'm assuming this is our head honcho here. He's reading a suicide note. I mean, it probably should have saved it to show it here on the screen, but look at that. You get a lot like that. That's a very heavy note. And then his response to this, and just like that, the little whiner hangs himself. Oh, yeah. All right. So detective, because it is here. P.S. Tell Detective Soap he won't have to put up with any more psycho babble. Geez, Soap, what'd you say to this guy? Like, and you already see on Soap's face just that, like, he's clearly has remorse or feels terrible about how all of this went down.
And in the last issue, he's very kind and calm about it. He is not in any way going out of his way to be rude to the psychoanalyst that is assigned to him to help track down the Punisher. You
Well,
know, which
I guess we could back up a little bit too. Go ahead and tell us, because I didn't read any of the issues leading up to this. It was strictly isolated in reading this issue. Go ahead and tell us what leads us to this point.
in a nutshell, and just guys who are already familiar with it, or girls, just bear with me here. But just as a brief synopsis, is that the Punisher has returned to New York. He's a much older age, and he's just kind of announced this brand new war on crime, particularly the Gnucci family. And he's taken out the sons and the brother of Gnucci up to this point. And while this is going on, Detective Soap is like the big laughing stock of his department. Like, nobody respects him. No male or female respects this guy at all. His thoughts, his opinions, as a detective, as a human being, he's constantly dismissed, and he is given the job of taking down the Punisher. And they know, and he knows it's a shit job. Everyone, and they're just doing it on purpose because the Punisher's doing their job for them. They don't have to worry about arresting these people because the Punisher's just going around just killing them all, dropping them off buildings and various other things, and killing the hitmen that they hire to help take them down too. So there's so many great issues up to this point anyway. But that's where the psychoanalyst like comes in and has all these thoughts that Soap just was like, it's really not going to help us like crack this case and figure out and taking him down. And the minute he tells him that, like he's clutching his papers and just is like kind of pushed out the door, not pushed, but just kind of escorted out by Soap, and just saying that's really not going to help. See what else you can come up with. And the guy has just got the most broken look on his face.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that issue, that's when Soap comes in and sees the guy hanging in his office.
Damn. So, all right. After this, I'll make a promise to, because it's only 12 issues and I'm going to burn through.
Oh, it's a fast read, dude. My God.
If I get the time this weekend to read them, I'll do it. If not, for sure next week when I'm at work, which is my ideal time. It's kind of shitty to say that. My ideal time to read comics is on the downtime at work. I'm like, I can get an issue or two in, before I have to like do something again. But yeah, that sounds incredibly fucked up. It's like he walks in and sees him hanging. We cut to this issue. Now we're reading the letter that he wrote, which I'm not going to take the time to read all of it, but going to the next page, get a big splash panel, Punisher hopping over a little brick barricade. He's already being shot at. He says, that's the sound of my luck running out. And we have Stan Lee presents Wild Kingdom. And you're thinking to yourself, because the cover doesn't really set you up for what's going to happen here. And usually, what?
Well, you see a piranha on there, which could mean,
that could mean anything. But you kind of don't get the general idea of like, oh shit. So Wild Kingdom. It turns out that we're at a zoo, and I will go ahead and hopefully this pops up okay on your end.
Yes.
All right.
It's there. Yeah, we're in business.
All right. So we're at the bottom here of page 4 after he's been shot at, and the guys have been kind of assessing, like they think that they've hit him a little bit, but they also look very concerned and very worried, and for good reason, because he's the fucking Punisher.
Yeah.
Wait. Let's see. Maybe did I go? Is that shot? That shot's a little too far. Sorry, that's a few pages off. My bad. I was thinking it was the one down here below that. We'll take that out right now. Did it again. I jumped the gun. I did that last time too.
Oh, in comics when they're starting out, they're kind of always trying to find their footing. And after the first few issues, the Fantastic Four get their costumes, and Spider-Man. So we'll have kinks.
I'll get my costume here eventually. But yeah, they're he's kind of talking about, you know what? I'll just read some of it. I'm scoping out Gnucci for the kill, getting a look at her security team, and I followed them through half the stores on Fifth Avenue when one of her soldiers makes me. And I wasn't even going to hit her tonight. So it's like he wasn't even really planning on such a thing. He just kind of stumbled into this a little bit. The limo meets them at the park. And this little punk, this blue-eyed boy, probably on his first time guarding the witch, he turns. And just like that, he looks right at me. He looks in my eyes and doesn't like what he sees. And something tells him, this is it. He's a bright kid. He should go far. Then it cuts to a shot of like you see the bullet wound on Punisher's shoulder. He's clearly kind of grasping at his stomach. He's been hit there. I have a 45. He has a submachine gun. So we're kind of already like, I love the inner monologuing. I know that happens a lot in Punisher books, that we get a lot of that, but I just like how he's already like, well, this should be fun.
Yeah, Garth knows how to get in the mind of the Punisher and let everyone know, like, you buy everything that he's thinking, how he's analyzing the situation, he is so mission based. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's his military, you know,
which
like
you kind of hope that they would do that when they do live action versions of him.
No.
When he gets his own series, but you know what? Oh, fuck that.
I still never watched that.
Yeah, keep it like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. On to better times.
Yeah, we get Gnuccis here, which is just kind of funny when you say it together, like Gnuccis. I have to be.
Yeah, I never knew how to say that when I was reading it when I was a teenager. Like,
yeah, well, because it's
Gucci or
because it's spelled Gnucci.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say Gnucci.
Gnucci, yeah, but it didn't take long for me to kind of figure out, like, okay, I think it's Gnucci from what I can safely assume here, because no one told me.
But Ma is very, she is very rough. Like when I say rough, I mean just like very. You can tell her face is weathered. She's like the skinny version of the mom from Goonies.
Which I've often wondered too. Like for many years, like I've always wanted to see the Gnucci family portrayed in a live action like Punisher story, which is what I hoped we had gotten, and that was not to be the case. Yeah. But just who would have played Ma Gnucci? You know, like what kind of like older actress that could fit the bill of someone who's like.
Well, you could put him in makeup too.
Possibly, yeah. But I guess for me, it would be more fun if it was like an actual older actress to play the part of. I've never been able to figure that out. I've never once come across anybody. I'm like, okay, that would be a perfect Ma Gnucci. Which I guess it could be left open to a lesser known actress or someone who's got a lot of credentials. But you could have so much fun with a character like that.
Yeah, she's stepped out of the limo and she's just screaming. It's like, it's him! It's the Punisher! Shoot him! He's killed my sons! I want his head! And then of course you have these lackeys that are just like, yes, whatever you say, not knowing what they're gonna step into. And that's when we switch to the next part where they are like, hey, come on, let's go. And it's like, this will lead us right to him, move. And we get this shot that says Central Park Zoo, and it's clearly nighttime or around closing time.
Yep.
Which if I'm gonna be kind of nitpicky, because we clearly, well, no, they're running towards it and it's already closed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. The way this panel has it set up here that I'm showing, if you just kind of glance at it, it's almost like they're looking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like yeah. All right. So it's closed. Jesus. Gotta get better reading this stuff. But yeah, then we get to Soap and he's being mocked. People are calling him a killer. They've put up stuff outside of his door. Said rip Bud plug. You could almost read that as butt plug.
Butt plug.
Yeah, Bud will be avenged. Couldn't they at least gotten rid of the tie? Yeah, and they tie a tie around the exposed pipe in his office. It's like, hey, look.
Well, no, the tie is what the guy used to hang himself with.
I know, but did it happen? Oh, it's in his office.
Yeah,
See, yeah. I probably should have read the issue. See, I'm thinking like the guys are like giving him shit.
No,
they're mocking him.
Yeah.
I should have read the issue before this. This would have made a lot more sense, because I was like,
right. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, in my head, I'm like, oh, well, they're calling him a killer. Like, clearly they put that there as a gag. Like, ha ha ha.
Which would make sense too.
Yeah. Moving on here, they walk into the zoo and they suspect, and hey, this is when I can pop this up. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, the way Steve draws the Punisher with aggression, like it's it's just like it's the perfect rendition of the Punisher in terms of like it's everything you could imagine the Punisher would emote.
Yeah.
I guess it's so simple, and really you wouldn't even have to have any inner monologue during this. You just know he's sitting there and he's waiting, he's planning, he's thinking, with bullet holes in him. But I like the fact that he is. I mean, the audience is being told what he's thinking about, like sizing up the situation. How badly is he hurt? I got no weapons other than a small, a pistol, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
The 45.
A 45, and that's what I love about this particular story, and for another reason as well. I'll get into it later on, but how the Punisher improvises in any situation like this, and it's the Punisher in absolute perfection. It's just one of the many reasons, animal attacks, always fascinate me, like in movies and stuff like that. I can't think of anything more horrifying than an animal eating you alive.
Well, you're gonna get that in spades in this issue.
Yes, which really stuck out to me a lot because of this, and when it happens in some of the other stories as well. But it I guess I'll just go and say, do you remember the movie Bird on a Wire with Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn?
Was it Mel Gibson?
Yeah, Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn, yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking it was Kurt Russell, but I guess that would have been Overboard, right?
Yeah, that was Overboard, yeah.
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 I remember it, just the fact that I was thinking it was Kurt Russell, not Mel Gibson.
Yeah, the climax of that film takes place in a zoo where people are like Mel's taking people out by some of the stuff that's in the zoo. And I had seen that movie probably over 20 years.
Yeah.
But I always thought that was so cool that they're using animals in the zoo to help take out people. Like David Carradine and Bill Duke are like two of the guys like out trying to kill them in the zoo. And it always made me think of that movie, but just more vicious. And just thinking like, oh my God, like can you imagine like a live action version of it, like what we see in this, the things that the Punisher uses to his advantage in a zoo or in a jungle, which was in the second arc, I believe too, where he uses another one of the animals we see here in a very similar fashion, which was even used in the Punisher video game that Thomas Jane voiced. There were a lot of references from the Garth Ennis runs were in that game.
Is that the one that I'm also thinking of where you could torture guys in it, or is that okay?
Yeah.
I didn't know
interrogate them and ask them questions, and eventually you could just like kill them, on the spot.
I didn't know Tom Jane did the voice for that one.
Yeah, sure.
That's weird that he would do the voice for it because there was no likeness of him.
No, there wasn't, but this was after the Punisher movie had come out that he had done too. So at that time, I was like, "Oh, this is great," because we were convinced ourselves that Punisher movie was fucking awesome. And
these aren't even Cuban, Howard.
Oh my God, what the hell were we thinking, man?
So, with that image that I just had up, I like that last word bubble. It's like, all I've got is what comes to hand, and a world of hurt to use up on the first Goomba to come through that door. Thank you, God, because
he knows it's the one that shot him. It's like he's knowing he's. It's almost like he's enjoying the fact that I can't wait to get back at this little guy.
And he says that here on the next page, the one who made me, the blue-eyed boy.
Yeah,
already thinking about his reward, and we don't have it here to show on the screen, but he just happens to walk past a particular fish tank, and we see Frank lunge at him. He'll never guess, believe me. And then you see the guy say, "Mommy." And then, God,
the way he grabs him by the throat and by the nuts, is such a. And I should have probably picked that one too because it was such a beautiful image of like death.
If you could just picture,
which I can't imagine the Punisher's grip by the throat is probably enough to kill you anyway, but to grab you by the nuts.
Yeah, but
at the same time.
Yeah, but he's not wanting to choke you out and give you that kind of death. No, he's going to pick you up and dunk you in a piranha tank. So, which the other two goons are like, "You hear something from in there? Maybe we ought to go check on the kid." Which, yeah,
that's fucking awesome, dude. That's a Punisher kill if there ever was one, and then leaves it. Doesn't just dump the body in the tank and let him go. No. He pulls the remains out and sets it down.
Eat up, guys. I haven't got all night.
Yeah. like that perception. He's just, come on, let's get this thing over with. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, that's good enough. And then to yank
that's good
the flesh that's still left in the legs and set it down on the ground so they will come across it. Like, oh my God, I just love how dark Garth is. About he just doesn't shy away from any kind of detail.
No, and I mean, not even still, like not shying away from. I mean, we don't see the piranhas like gnawing on him. We just see the aftermath, but still, just to see the aftermath like that is very, like, holy shit, especially coming into it from. I mean, even reading Ultimate Spider-Man, there's nothing like too gory in it, and especially when you go back to comics of years past, it never gets like that graphic. But yeah, holy shit, just to. And I like the word bubble here. It's like, oh, jeez. I'm assuming he vomited there, the way they have that word.
Yes, yeah, he's vomiting, yeah. Because it was
a little
later on,
right,
he's got vomit on his mouth.
Yeah, the next page, you see him over the ledge, like, viscerally throwing up.
Yeah. But as the aftermath of that, is that going on, they see the Punisher and scurrying across, and the Punisher's like, what lives in there? Oh, you're up, big guy. And I love the setup. Like, what the hell could the Punisher see in there enough to break the glass?
Yeah.
And whatever is in there,
I'm coming for you, Punisher. I'm gonna blow your. And I'm kind of surprised. Well, I guess because comics, but Ultimate Spider-Man did this a lot too with cursing. I'm surprised they put freak in here, not just like the edited. Make you imply what it says instead.
Maybe something that was like Garth was like, I don't want to use, I'll just use an actual word as close as the word fucking as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, you think about it too, the Italianos.
Which, I mean, may say freaking, but I would, me personally, I would prefer like the symbols to kind of blur out. Because even reading comics when I was a kid in the early 90s, there would be certain issues like you read Punisher or various other books, there would be cussing even in Spider-Man books. And you're like, make you wonder, like, that's a 4-letter word. Are they saying shit? Are they saying fuck? Are they saying damn? Sometimes they like
any of them would apply.
Yeah, so it just kind of feels like, what do you feel like would sound better in this context here? So it was always kind of fun to kind of think about what they might be saying. But
so he's like, I'm gonna blow your head off, and then we get here. Oh, poor guy. Next page. No.
A giant. It could have been a boa constrictor, an anaconda. To me, that's up there with a great white shark eating you alive. Is a massive snake attacking you, squeezing you to death so he can consume you.
All right. Well, I'll ask you this.
Oh God!
If you had to pick an animal death like that, a heroic movie death like that, which way would you want to go? You want a big old snake attack, or you want to be eaten by a great white, or something else?
Jesus Christ, dude! I
well, let's just say, like, let's just pretend, like, let's say not real life scenario.
If I'm in a movie,
if you're in a movie and they're like, hey, these are the deaths we have lined up. It's gonna be multiple deaths because we're doing something at a full-fledged zoo. Like we're gonna have an aquarium, we're gonna have piranhas, we're gonna have sharks, we're gonna have big ass snakes. And they're like, we want you to pick how you want to go in this film. What are you going with?
Slowest death would be the snake, which is probably,
from an acting standpoint, probably the best.
I mean, like, or just like what you have to convey is that the snake is going to either grab a hold of you, wrap its body around you, and then squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. I mean, if you ever watch like a giant snake attack, like swallow like an alligator, and the alligator is clearly bigger, but it's just kind of sitting there alive and being eaten and consumed, while this snake is gradually over the period of an hour trying to swallow a whole damn alligator. A very and you're just thinking, dude, get up. And the alligator's pretty much just accepted his fate.
Yeah.
But a shark would probably be quicker, but scary. No, I mean, you're underwater. It's dragging you. You can't breathe. Well, hell, you can't breathe in either one of them.
True.
Oh my god!
I think I'm gonna go with piranhas because I think it would just make it like a good visceral, like into the blood.
Oh my
Up.
god, dude!
It'd be fast. It would be fast.
It would be it would be the fastest death, but it sure wouldn't be any. I mean, if it was oh my
I don't
god!
know.
If I start breaking this down, man, like I've had enough nightmares about sharks trying to eat me.
Oh, yeah, so we're gonna talk about it. Tyler's gonna eat him a big old bowl of ice cream, and then go to bed and have all kinds of nightmares. We're gonna have to buy him a nightlight.
No, it's I have had more nightmares. I've had nightmares about snakes too, but more about sharks than anything else. But
Emily was saying, because she was like, I haven't seen a lot of snakes this year. Like, just even dead ones in the road that have been run over and such. And I guess apparently that's a thing, is if you don't see that many snakes, it's supposed to be like a bad winter.
Oh, shit.
Hopefully that's not the case.
I heard someone else say it was supposed to be a bad winter too coming. It had nothing to do with snakes though, but
yeah, but they've been saying that shit for the last few years, and it's been like, other than a big snow, it's okay.
Yeah.
Piranha's the way to go. And the movie, the remake.
But if you were gonna like go with, you're going out with a glorious death for the sake of like, I want my death like people are gonna like they're gonna remember this one.
Yeah.
A snake attack would be pretty bad. I mean, because I think of like John Wooten Anaconda being eaten alive.
Yeah.
The rest and then you see like
sucked ass.
I mean, well, yeah, you got J-Lo trying to be all serious and shit, and
Owen Wilson being in a coma for half of it. No,
that was Eric Stoltz.
The other guy.
That was the best thing. Owen Wilson, that he got eaten alive by the anaconda and carried.
He got pulled into the water, right?
It grabs comes up on the boat, grabs a hold and spins him around.
Yeah,
and then pulls and then swallows him because it shows it underwater with him.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz is the one that didn't have to do shit for most of it.
Yeah,
he was just like,
yeah.
The fever.
Something went into his throat or something. He had like a bug go in his throat, so I get to sit out the rest of the movie. It's awesome. And John Boy sitting there going, "Baby bird," and making this kind of like squinty-eyed faces. Yeah. So young, you said you're so little.
Yeah, like who is he trying to channel when he's doing that?
I have no idea at all. But I went and saw the movie I think 3 times in theaters when it came out because it was so. We were all about the snake attacks. We just thought it was so amazing to see a giant snake just constantly eating people, even though they wouldn't do that. But it was, the tagline was great. When you can't breathe, you can't scream. Like that was a great tagline for that movie.
PG-13 or R?
Yeah. Okay. PG-13, yeah.
Actually, that makes sense because I remember the weekend it came out, we were in 7th grade, and all the middle school kids, like the popular kids and shit, were talking about it that Monday. Like, wasn't it so cool? And I didn't go or like have anybody to go with. I guess
it's a shame we didn't know each other because you went with me, my dad, and my brother, and we went and saw it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Jeez, I mean, that would have been cool. And I guess from a nostalgia standpoint, like you can watch it and enjoy it for what it is. But I don't stand by that it's like a good movie at all.
Last time I watched it, it was like, oh god, like I mean, there's a couple of cool visuals in the movie and things like that.
Yeah,
and there's some cool gags and stunts, but the cast leaves a lot to be desired. And
hey man, it's all-star stuff. You got Eric Stoltz, John Voight, Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Owen Wilson. Who was
the butler from Richie Rich? And
I don't even.
He gets eaten too, and then Danny Trejo's the first victim of the movie too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's
it's been a long time.
He's part of John Voight's crew.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And actually he kills himself before the snake can attack him.
Well.
Yeah, and I'm glad to go that route too. Especially when they're implying that he's climbing the mast of the ship, and the snake is curling up the mast and like to look at you before it eats you. Scary shit, man. That's why seeing this when I read this, it was like, oh my god, it's Anaconda, Plus another snake is used in the second one when he goes down to South America and sets up a trap where an anaconda actually consumes the guy. Like you see it when the Punisher's like moving on. The guy's in the background being consumed by the anaconda, which was used in the Thomas Jane video game too, that you could set up a trap and lure a guy to a snake to wrap around you and attack him and hang him in the tree.
I think
Pretty fucking awesome, dude.
I think I do have that for Xbox. I just like got it at a pawn shop and then like never played it.
No, it was a lot of fun to play. I didn't beat it because I remember getting like the second stage of the Russian where he's got female body parts
Kevin
and
Nash?
stuff like that. Yeah, Kevin Nash. Where he's got tits and shit. Which is a take from the comic book series as well. But I never could beat that part. I got so frustrated with it and just never could beat it. But anyway, we're back in the zoo here, and the snake attack. Like, oh my god, how do you top that? And I dare say, we'll get there. But the snake attack to me is my most memorable. For me, just because snake attacks like that always stick out to me. If you ever watch videos of big snakes attacking other large animals and things like that, or vice versa, it's the animal kingdom is scary. I don't want to watch anything cute and cuddly being attacked by these sons of bitches. But if they're going to go after like another predator, that's
fun
to watch. That's fun because I feel like it's evenly matched here.
Well, okay, yeah. At least the other animal can at least attempt to defend itself, right?
Yeah,
it's
not
just like
cute
here's a rabbit and it's gone.
Yeah, and you're like, asshole.
Speaking, well, I guess we couldn't really call her an asshole, but we have what's her name, Lieutenant Von Richthofen.
Yeah,
call her Molly. We'll call her Molly.
Richthofen, yeah, we'll just call her Molly. A very beautiful woman who's
kind of looks like Janine from Ghostbusters.
Kind of like that. Yeah, I always thought she was a pretty woman, but comes right in to start busting Soap's balls essentially.
Dude
as
can't
his
catch
new
a
partner.
break.
No, and so she's going to be his partner for the rest of this particular run, and I don't believe she comes back. At least not that. While I was reading Punisher, she does not come back.
You think maybe she probably got used like in a different run for sure, or
it's hard to say if Garth ever brought her back, because I think once they stopped using, because I really like the character of Soap kind of being like the regular like schmuck that's always associated with the Predator, like the guy's tracking him down or whatever, and it was just such a memorable cast. It would have been fun to just kind of continue on with that. But the way this first arc runs, it kind of sets her up to kind of go off and do her own thing. And Soap is given a temporary promotion that somehow seems to just be taken away from him.
Titanic team up of all time, she said.
Yes, yeah. And so they're going to be going after the Gnuccis family and the Punisher. It's kind of what their deal is for the rest of this run here.
Well, let's see how much longer this lasts.
Yeah.
Punisher clearly kind of exhausted, saying, have to close this down soon. Lost more blood than I thought, and all the shootings bound to bring cops. Ma joining in makes the problem worse. So and then she's like, do you think you had all night or something, moron? Is that why we're playing nature study? He's trying
but the guys have been. She does not care that they've been eaten alive.
They're dead. I want the Punisher. I want to see him dead with my own eyes. There he is. Shoot him. So then
where's the Punisher fall?
Oh man! So he falls down. It almost seems like a pretty rough landing.
Yeah, because judging just from like the scale, the perspective, it looks like it was a pretty high fall, like it was, and to land right on the shot shoulder, I could not begin to imagine like.
And you clearly see him here. Well, not yet. I'm kind of spoiling it here. I'll have it up on the screen. So he's kind of holding himself and he's looking around, and he says, "Damn, Snake took the last punk's gun. Nothing in here I can use as a weapon." And then this is when she's yelling at that guy. It's like. But it's like he wants to tell her that Steve is like, no, get down there. And then we have this shot here, and he's like, cuddly, lovable, docile. That won't do it all. And he decides to punch him and piss him off and then take off running. And then he ends up hopping over the goon. I'm going to remove that because I don't want to completely spoil. Yeah, I won't spoil it yet. He runs at them, Ma Gnuccis, and the... does this guy even have a name?
No, they're not
goon number 3.
Yeah, goon number 3 will work.
Leaps off of his back to get a better grasp at the top so he can pull himself up. And then they are surrounded by 3 very pissed off polar bears.
Very, very big polar bears, which polar bears are not small anyway, but just looking at them, like, oh my God.
And immediately, wham, off with that dude's head. It's just gone.
And the Punisher just sits and watches. Like I love that. Like he's not about getting the hell out of it. No, I'm going to see this through here, at least long enough to like know, yeah, they're done, or so he thinks.
So he thinks.
But
But I also like how he says that sirens coming, got to go. Shame. He wanted to stay. He wanted to just, which, in the grand scheme of things, he should have.
Yeah. But
The page after this, I think, is what sort of led me more to believe that I probably should have read what had led.
Yeah,
up
and
to
I
this
thought
point.
about that too. I mean, because I went back and just read it just for fun.
Yeah.
And knowing that the minister who is referred to as the Holy, or what he calls himself, is his self-proclaimed vigilante name. And I don't remember if you remember too that there are 3 vigilantes that are kind of coming out as the Punisher is making his big return, and they all become aware of the Punisher, and they're inspired by the Punisher, and actually become a group who want to become the Vigilante Squad. And so you got Mr. Payback, who's going after corporate America.
Okay.
Elite, who is a very he's kind of a upscale gentleman who will kill anybody that disrupts the peace and sovereignty of upscale society, or doing things that are, like, for example, he's outside wearing his mask, and an elderly, like a rich older woman is letting her dog like piss on the street. He shoots the dog.
Okay.
Because he addresses it like, you shouldn't be allowing your dog to just piss all over the sidewalk in this neighborhood. And she dismisses him. He pulls out a pistol, kills the dog.
Wow. I mean, hey, that's one way to.
Yeah, and I always thought David Hyde Pierce, who played Niles on Frasier, if you look up Elite, looks exactly. And that was the moment I saw Elite. Okay, Niles has to play that part, because I could picture him so easily playing that character of a prim and proper killer like that. Let's see what Nathan thinks here too. If anyone else feels the same way, please let me know that David Hyde Pierce would play Elite in a live-action Punisher. And maybe Balky from Perfect Strangers could play the Holy.
Well, I was trying to save an image, and it wants to be all weird with the. Well, let me try this one. Let's see. All right, that one will work. Let me pop it up here as an overlay and add that in. Hopefully I found the right thing. I'll pop it up and be like, no,
okay.
That's not it.
That's him. That's Elite.
I could see that. Though I feel like the guy might need to be just a little bit younger. I feel like he might be a little too old.
Well, I guess part. When this was like when Frasier was like in the middle of its
heyday. That makes sense too, because
that's why I thought that, because
the timelines here do kind of correlate a little bit.
Yeah. So that was always my thought too. But yeah, with the Holy here, which we're not seeing him in action, we're seeing him bury somebody that he's killed. Which he, for Nathan, who or anyone else who's not familiar doesn't remember, that he kills people who come to confession, and he kills them because of, like, one guy comes in and says, "Yeah, I just killed a couple of people. Can I just come in and say a couple of Hail Marys and be done?" And that's the kind of his perception, is that he feels like people come in and treat. They
treat it just to wash themselves of the sins they committed. It's not like they're learning from it. They're going to go out and do it again.
Yeah, and he gets it just kind of makes him snap. Like, you're going to come in here but he opens up the confessional with an axe and starts chopping up. Well,
because it's kind of like it's making a mockery of the whole thing.
It is.
If they're living by the rule of, well, as long as I repent and do this,
I'll be all right.
I'll still go to heaven. Yeah.
That's what happens.
I'm behind this guy. I like this guy.
Which it's a great run. It's a great world that it's building here. Which I really wanted to see the Vigilante Squad, Mr. Payback, Elite, and the Holy set up in a Netflix series.
Well, let me read what he says here as he's burying this body. With your strength, I could have fought this madness, this sickness of the soul that plagues me. But you would not answer, Lord. You ignored my pleas, and now I have committed murder several times. Could you not have sent me a sign, something, anything, to show me which course to take. And then that's when a newspaper blows into his face, and he's like, huh? And it says another Gnucci down on here. Punisher does it again. He's like, who is this man? Let's see. Oh, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Now I see I am no longer alone. So then now he's kind of swinging into that thing, as you talked about. It's like he's finding like a common ground, even though they are vastly different. But his mind is just like very focused on he's taking out the bad guys. I'm taking out the bad guys. We're the same when they're not.
Yeah, I'm not sick.
I'm not sick.
Yeah.
It's everybody else.
Which
no. Well, I mean, he knows that there's something wrong with him, because he wouldn't be talking to God that way. But I'm gonna have to go and like read all of this now, because this is like very intriguing. I like this character idea.
Yeah.
Because even though he's murdering and he's a bad guy, when you break it down, the reasoning that he's doing it, it's like not wrong in a way.
I mean, that's
it is, but it's not.
So good, because
that's the conflict.
Because Mr. Payback is going after people who are clearly screwing over people in the corporate system. I'm like, he walks right up to a guy who's being interviewed on the street for I forgot what it is, and he just blows his brains out right there during a live news interview. And it's just kind of one of those things, like you like, it's obviously death is not the right thing, because but the Punisher goes after people who are like, I mean, who are child molesters, rapists, known, I mean, like the hardcore of hardcore criminals. He's not going to kill someone for jaywalking. That's not what he's about. And it's making sure that others don't go through what he went through. And that's what makes him so much fun in the Marvel Universe, is everybody's like, no, I don't kill, and you shouldn't either. And that speech that he gives to Daredevil in season 2, he's like, you put them away and they're right back on the street. I hit them, they stay down, And like a month, a week, a day later, they're back on the street doing the same damn thing.
Yeah.
So you just put them in the morgue. You're damn right I do.
Yeah. It's a good moral compass, like, because I personally feel like it would be a same sort of thing. Like, I feel if you and I were superheroes, I feel like you would be the one, more than likely of the two of us, that would be like, you know what? Yeah, the cops are handling it. He's going to prison, whatever. And I would be more like the one that's like, they keep getting out though, and causing more problems. Why not? Let's just eradicate this now, and then have the budding of. But that's what makes it good.
But that makes good drama with these characters. Why Daredevil and Punisher clash, Spider-Man and Punisher clash, Wolverine and Punisher not so much, because Wolverine's not afraid to kill at all.
Yeah.
Neither is Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I figured like Wolverine probably loves it anytime he gets to hang out with Punisher. And he's like, all right, well, I was going to say, it's like, well, don't tell anybody. But, you ever think about that too? It's like Xavier has the capability of kind of like reading minds and knowing this stuff. And with Wolverine being there and going out, you would figure he would kind of keep tabs on him, or at least maybe even like look into Punisher's brain. And then that opens up the whole thing. It's like, well, why would he be okay with him also doing that? Does he also feel that it's completely necessary, so it's something that they don't have to do?
Well, but that's something that's what makes the Professor X character so memorable, is that he
did I lose him?
Will not break into someone's mind. Like if he was sitting here talking to us, he would not read your mind without your permission.
I thought I lost you for a second. It seemed like it like locked.
It
like locked up for a second. It was like I was like, did I lose him? I don't know how it's gonna look on the other end, because I may have frozen up too.
Okay. Well, no, I was just saying that Professor X does not use his power, against people's will. Like he will not read your mind unless he has permission to. So even if he was to come across the Punisher, he's not going to sit there and just control the Punisher's mind.
Yeah, but there's probably been times over Xavier's broken that rule.
Well, he has, to stop Magneto, like he's done that before, and with others as well. But that's the purpose of his character, is that he wants to know that he can talk the problem out. He wants to be able to. Obviously, the X-Men go and fight, but because his power is so powerful, I mean, he could cripple anybody.
Yeah.
With his mental powers there. That's why he's not going to do it. Unless they're completely incapacitated, he's not going to go out of his way to read your mind without, with Wolverine, unless like Wolverine was attempting to actually kill him, he would, all he could do was just try to talk Wolverine to, like, don't kill this man. Like, I know you're upset. Killing him is not going to make the pain go away.
Yeah.
He's all about saving humanity. So,
well,
it would be an interesting conversation for Professor X to sit down with Frank Castle.
Has it happened before?
Not that I have seen, but
it's probably happened at some point.
Probably
in the last 20 years. I don't know.
It's not something I mean, not logically, you wouldn't think they would ever really cross paths.
True.
Because a Punisher is street level. He only deals with, criminals, like common criminals and drug empires. And, the Kingpin is about as higher up on the supervillain list as he typically goes, even though he's fought Dr. Doom and, a few other people on occasion. But he's pretty much, Kingpin or crime lords that's where he kind of revolves around. So he's not really going to be crossing paths with Juggernaut, and then Professor X is like, don't kill him. With a bazooka or something like that.
Turns out we're related.
Yeah, he's my half brother.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and jump back into this final page, which I thought it made me laugh. Where it's like, we're still short ahead, guys. Come on, can't have gone that far.
Yes. Which it does make you wonder, like, man, like, what did the polar bear do to the other guy? I mean, the head obviously is gone, but they tore Gnuccis to pieces, and you will see that in the opening of the following issue.
Well, the cop here says, Gnuccis and 3 of her soldiers, real mess. I don't know what they were doing in here after dark. And then this is when Molly says, sounds like all my problems are over now. And so it's like, so much for that Titanic team up. So they didn't even get to do anything. They just have this, they hang out, they get the call, they go, and it's like, oh, that's over. And the paramedics, you hear someone say, this is as stable as it gets, boys, let's go. And it's like, wait a minute, who's stable? Blah, 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 blah. Take a shot. You said a real mess. The 3 creeps, sure. Gnuccis is still alive. As Tyler alluded to, next issue you will see the mangled up remains.
What's left over.
Yeah, I'm gonna read through. I'll start from the beginning and read through all of that.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
The line in the next issue, one that always sticks out to me, is when she tells one of her guys to lick her scabs.
Ugh.
Yeah. And the guy throws up.
Like, she means that in a way of just like, it's sort of like kissing the ring. Like, she legit, it's not like a...
Like, when she says it, like...
It's not like a kiss my ass or anything. It's like,
no,
legit,
I think
my
she
scabs.
meant literally, like, lick my scabs. I'm your boss. Ugh. I'm a woman. I don't know if it meant, like, satisfying sexual needs, or just she's that screwed up that she would tell one of her own men to lick her scabs, or just she gets off on the idea of, like, saying something gross. But I always took it as some sort of, like, sexual pleasure.
I'd throw up too.
Yeah, pretty messed up, dude. That's why I love Garth Ennis's writing on Punisher, dude. Oh my god, it is wonderful.
So we're going favorite kill. Your favorite kill is the snake?
Probably, the snake, yeah. But it's not as good as the second snake kill in the second arc.
Okay.
Where the snake is actually engulfing the guy that the Predator set up. I mean, not Predator, Punisher. Jeez, I'm confusing my killers here.
I'm gonna go with the Piranha kill.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Even
especially if you like the movie Piranha.
Even though we don't see it, it's just implied, and we get the aftermath.
Yeah, I mean, plus if you've seen any of the Piranha films, the remake or the Joe Dante one, like seeing piranhas coming in hordes and just devouring someone who can't move. Oh my god!
The remake's solid. Yeah. The remake's okay.
They took my penis. You see
Jerry
O'Connell's finest acting performance.
Yeah, it's his best performance in Piranha 3D. And hey, it's in 3D. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I remember going to sit in theaters with you, dude.
Yeah, you remember that family that brought like their kids? It was like 10-year-old kid. It's just like titties everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man.
They're like, well, way to do the research on that one there, Dad.
Yeah.
God, I wonder who would be upset over that one, the mom or the dad. Like, if the dad thought, like, oh,
They
great,
didn't-
we'll have fun.
They didn't seem too mad about it when it was going on.
I guess not. I'm sure that he was like, the boy's going to say it at some point anyway.
Yeah, who cares? May as well just educate him. Get it over with. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go through and read the rest of this. It might not be this weekend, but it will definitely be this coming week for sure, just to check it out. And then the next time that we do the spinner rack, I can report back on what I thought about it. Because I don't want to divulge it on any of the other stuff that we do. I'll save it strictly for this.
Okay. I'm sure I'll hear something from his. Oh my God, it's fucking
Well,
awesome.
no, I mean, I'll tell you, but I mean for the listeners.
Oh, yeah. You guys can't get you can't get the inside scoop.
Yeah, you can't get the scoop. You got to wait.
Privilege.
Patreon exclusive. No.
Yeah.
There's no.
We're going to charge you $50 to hear Nathan's opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna.
No, we're not. No, all of our content's gonna be free. People, we'll never go down that path of charging people.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this right now. I almost threw up.
Lick my scabs.
Yeah, that's what she says, dude.
No. I mean, I could just open the next issue and see it for myself, but I'll wait. I want to read the other 3 and then jump into issue 5. You want to take time for any questions at all?
Yeah, sure. If anybody has any things they want to throw out to us, some fun comic book discussions, bring them on here, people, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, toss us any of that stuff. I could say it doesn't have to necessarily be comic book related too. We did
you want G.I. Joe discussion? Then you can throw that in there too. You want to ask Nathan why he likes Chuckle so much? Well, we go back.
I already said.
Well, I'm just saying it. All right, just roll with me here.
Well, here's what Jaime Mars asked earlier. What do you consider a bad winter? I think consecutive amounts of Well, I mean, not just because I'm fine with a good dusting. I'm even fine with just a little bit. I was going to say, I'm fine with a couple inches, but that just sounds wrong. Anything that makes it a huge pain in the ass to get to work.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern too.
Or to get down the driveway. Now, the way my driveway is now, I just park at the bottom of it and walk up if it's a real bad one. But I don't want it to be bad to where it's like it's a heavy snow that can weigh down on the power because I don't want the power going out either. Just that's a bad snow or a bad winter if it's just a lot of days like that in a row. Now, if it's just like it snows and like it's done the last few years. Like, all right, there's one day of snow in December and then like another one mid-February and then like one when it should be spring, but it's like that last remnants of winter that swings back when it starts to warm up again. That's okay. But if it's just like week after week after week, then
that and like single digit temperatures with wind.
Yeah.
It just
which it is. I was gonna mention this to Emily. I'm surprised it hasn't been as windy. You know how it's just like windy all the time. The last few weeks, it hasn't been
and raining
bad.
A lot too.
Yeah, but it's just been raining more instead of wind. But yeah, there's the weather update from us.
But we can have some pretty shitty winters around here. Not like Minnesota or anything like that, but they can still suck.
Yeah, it's not any like northeastern shit either. It's not like Boston or New York. I don't know.
Check this out, dude. Look at that. You recognize that logo?
Ninja Force?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. The
got
packaging
a whole
was
bunch of brand new
badass.
stickers on here, dude.
I know that it's divisive for older Joe fans to like Ninja Force because that was just like too much for them or for whatever reason. But
I don't know why they single out the Ninja Force. Like the vehicles were getting like heavily like neon colored and stuff like that.
I guess that's part of it, as they like it more like grounded and muted and more military based instead of having it be like, because I guess what's the point of a reconnaissance Jeep or vehicle if it's just bright fucking colors?
Well, that I will never argue with, but the
toyeticness of it, I'm not thinking about the practicality. I'm thinking about how toyetic it is, and to me, it's awesome.
Yeah, all the Ninja Force, or at least the original crew of Ninja Force was awesome. And Slice and Dice is like the two like Cobra Ninjas. Like, oh my god, dude, that's what's not to like about that. But
Yeah.
discussion
Zentron
for another day.
Didn't say it. Oh, because I said any question, didn't say it had to make sense. Zentron says Tyler, is it why? That reminds me of the Pete and Pete episode where she questions the math teacher and is just saying why, so much so that the
Oh yeah,
that she quits or whatever.
yeah. I'm not sure what he's asking though. Like
I
yeah.
think he was just being silly. Fedmon,
Okay.
best Spidey girlfriend, any era or series?
Did we answer this the last time?
I can't remember. I got the Joe memory.
I could have swore I thought we addressed like Spider-Man's like girlfriends, like what the favorite was or something like that. But
yeah, we can do it.
Yeah. But I like Gwen. I like Black Cat. I think that those two probably come up the most. In MJ and Ultimate Spider-Man was a lot of fun. And the '70s girls, like with Mary Jane in the '70s, like like after Gwen's death, and then Gwen during that time too. So I think that probably be my favorite.
I would say every now and again, though, the females in Ultimate Spider-Man are very aggressive with like their attitude towards Peter and like getting really mad at him. But I think too that like they are teenagers here. I'm not looking at them as like older college kids, even though they still do that. But I'm saying like the maturity level is a little swinging more towards the, all right, yes, they are indeed younger, and it does make sense. But in reading, I'm like, I think I've had some fights like that before. Zentron asks, worst Spider-Man run?
Me personally, I don't think there hasn't been like a. At least not during the early years, like the '60s, '70s, '80s, and '90s. I mean, you have like a couple of bad like stories here and there, of course, like with some shitty villains and stuff like that. But I stopped reading Spider-Man, I think, not too long after Civil War happened. I didn't read any. I read part of J. Michael's stuff when Civil War was going on, but like his stuff with John Romita, I did not read because I didn't like the artwork, which is probably blasphemous. I know people love that run of J. Michael and John Romita, but in terms of like worst run though, I really can't think of one right off the top of my head because, I can't think of one. I guess I can't say worst because I didn't read it because I didn't like the artwork. So I'm not going to sit there and say that was the worst.
True.
I don't know, man. I really like Spider-Man all through the '60s, '70s, '80s, and '90s. Like now, when you start getting into the Clone Saga stuff in the '90s, like that's where it's like all over the place. And I think everyone can, even though like we got Scarlet Spider out of that.
Yeah.
I think everybody can agree they all like Scarlet Spider. I sure as hell do too.
Yeah.
I like the Jackal. I like the Jackal a lot. But. Yeah, and Maximum Carnage was not the worst run, but it was also like not a great story. Like when you read it as an adult, it's just kind of like an all over the place, like over and over and over and over again. It's just like an excuse to keep stretching out a supposed big crossover over all the big books, or all the Spider-Man books. Which, boy, there was a lot of Spider-Man books at one point.
Well, I'll do this one then, because since you were kind of like, well, comic wise, not the worst. Do you have worst animated version of Spider-Man? I kind of wasn't a fan of that MTV one that came out.
I had no desire to watch it when it came out. I was like, no, I'm not interested at all in watching that series. So I never gave it a shot because I just didn't like how it looked. I was not interested in what they were going with. And I don't know anybody who actually watched it. I think my brother like dabbled in it once or twice because he was really watching MTV a lot.
I only watched it a very, very small bit, and I know it didn't run that long either. Before
it was pretty short lived. Even though I watched it religiously when it came on the '90s Spider-Man series, it's hard for me to sit down and watch. I find the pacing to be a bit jarring. Well, even as a kid, it was very jarring.
There was also because I watched a couple of YouTube videos on just like the history and going through the series, and a lot of the stuff that they mentioned, they're just like, it's kind of rough.
Yeah, it has a big fan base, but like the visuals look great. All the villains look pretty damn good for the most part, but it is not a show that I go back and I have fond memories of it. A lot of nostalgia on those Saturday mornings, but not a great show in general.
Zentron says MTV Spider-Man wasn't actually too bad. I don't know. I watched it and I was just like, I don't like the aesthetic. So it ran 13 episodes.
Yeah, it was pretty short-lived.
It was.
Yeah.
I remember they pushed the hell out of it. I remember it being advertised on MTV all the time. But yeah, I watched a few episodes of it. I'm like,
I mean, I won't say Spider-Man Unlimited because I love the look of Spider-Man. I love the opening credits and the music and the look of the show. Even though sending Spider-Man to a planet that's run by animals that are humanoids is stupid, but because me and my brother we couldn't. We didn't watch it very long. We was like, oh God, he looks awesome. The music's awesome, and it just didn't last long. But at least there was some merits to it. But I guess there's kind of merits to all of them. But I guess the MTV one, since I never watched it, I don't know if I could say that was the worst one.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I guess I'm just more mad at the '90s series because there were so many stupid things that were done in that show.
Talking about Morbius and the suckers.
Morbius and his fucking suction cups. And, Punisher shows up and has tea with Aunt May. Even as a kid, what the fuck is this? God.
Standards and practices, man.
Yeah. This is bullshit.
To get the PTC on you.
It's like if you're not going to do it right, then don't do it at all. I don't know what they were thinking on that show. X-Men, they got so right. They let these people do their own thing.
The Thomas Jane Punisher movie, not good.
No. It's
not good.
No.
I remember, like you said, you alluded to earlier when it came out, we tried.
Oh no, I was all into it. I was like, oh my God, this is the Punisher we deserve, man. Because you're so excited for it, and you're I almost say blinded because I was all into it. Instead of killing him, he takes a fire hydrant and sets people up with a bunch of fucking tickets and makes people think they're cheating on each other and stuff like that. That's what the Punisher does.
Yeah, he's going to hang them upside down and have a blowtorch, but it turns out it's just a popsicle.
Yeah. God. Yeah. I mean, it could have been a lot worse.
Jaime Mars was saying that one character.
Oh, Elite
is like Dexter. Yes. Yeah. That's. I've only watched the first 2 seasons of Dexter, and then I kind of just fell off, and I heard it got kind of bad after season 4 or something. But yeah, you watch that, and it was the same kind of principle. He works for the police department as a forensics detective, so he can go and look at the blood splatters and all that stuff. But he kills bad guys. He doesn't mess with good people. He just goes and kills the bad guys. And there's that whole thing that it's he's a murderer, but he's killing bad guys. It's a good story element to use.
That's
sure.
That's what makes the Punisher so not relatable, but you get why he does it.
Yeah. And you never watched the second Punisher movie, right?
Warzone.
Yeah, you didn't watch that one.
I saw pieces of it, and
okay.
It wasn't enough to make me sit down and watch the whole thing. What little I did see, it was
Jigsaw's a little hammy.
Yeah, Dominic. What's his name? I forgot what his last name is. Dominic West or something like that. Yeah. I remember he was in 300. He's the guy that rapes Cersei.
Yeah. Which at the time I was all about 300, and then you go back.
Yeah,
and
me
watch
too.
It now,
oh, it's great. And I'm like, nah, fuck that movie.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, when some of these comic movies come out, we're all into it, Daredevil included. Yeah, and I just I'm
not gonna repeat that one again.
You're so excited for it, and then somehow it just clicks. You're like, what the hell was I thinking this was a good movie?
Yeah,
and the minute you get it on DVD, you think that. Happened to me quite a few times. Spider-Man with Sam Raimi, Daredevil,
that playground
Punisher.
fight with Elektra and Daredevil. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with Michael Clark Duncan playing Kingpin. I had no problem with that.
No,
Not at all.
If anything, probably him and
That was probably the only, like in terms of like casting, I had no problem with that. And I don't like Colin Farrell except in the Friday Night remake. And he was good as the Penguin in the Batman, even though the movie's a piece of shit. But he was good in it.
Hey, that movie started off strong and then just
turned into a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, there's no denying it. You can sit there and but you're going to come out and say it's a piece of shit when the conversation's over.
The Dolph Lundgren Punisher
is still the next to the John
underrated, very underrated. People just want to immediately, just because the symbol's not on his costume doesn't mean like jack shit to me.
Yeah, and knowing that was discussed, and the director Mark Goldblatt was like, "Nah, I don't think it'll look very good." He's like, "That's my fault. If I had known how important that symbol was, like, oh my god, it probably would have helped out."
I mean, it would have helped, but it wasn't necessary.
True, but also for like Dolph's portrayal of the Punisher, like, dude, he nailed it.
Yeah.
The guys, like, one of my favorite lines from that movie is when he's talking to, I forgot what his name is. He kind of always reminds me of Armando Sante, and just telling him, like, how many people you kill? Like, surely you should have reached your limit. He's like, I guess I haven't reached mine yet. I just love that look, like, I'm not done. And I don't know when I'll ever be done, but I'm not. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I just love that. That's like, to me, that's the Punisher. Like Dolph's portrayal, like, nailed it. And why people, I think when it's brought up, I think more people tend to agree that it is a great portrayal of the Punisher.
If you give it a chance, I think people just have to get over that.
Well, they dismiss it because Dolph has always typically been like a straight to video actor, so therefore, that was kind of my perception when I was a kid. Like, well, first off, he didn't have the skull. That was one of my biggest like off puts. But when I finally saw him, I'm like, oh my god, like, okay, no, this is the Punisher. So that, and with John's portrayal in Daredevil season 2, those are like the definitive portrayals of Punisher in live action. And they have not been better.
But pass on the series, because I didn't watch the series. I fell
out
of the Netflix Marvel shows after Daredevil season 2.
Yeah, season 3 was forgettable.
Which I still haven't watched season 3.
Yeah, it has its moments, like the end fight in the last episode is very enjoyable. But just knowing that we were getting set up for Bullseye and then it gets canceled, I'm like, you think Disney's going to do that? Hell no.
Hey, they're
going to neuter the shit out of Daredevil. There's going to be nothing gritty, nothing edgy, nothing dark, and
we'll see how it happens when he shows.
It'll be more of a comedy, Matthew Murdock is a blind lawyer, but he's about to find out what it's like to be Daredevil. On this week on Disney Plus. Doop, 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 doop.
I heard that the Wrecking Crew are going to show up in the She-Hulk show, and I'm like,
oh my god! So they get to neuter those, all 4 of them,
which is a bummer. But
I'm not watching it. There's no way in hell they're getting me to watch that piece of shit show. With all these bad jokes.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna see what happens with Daredevil. See what they do with Wrecking Crew if they're there. I'm not looking forward to it. I watched the first one and I was just like, nah, whatever. I'm going to bed now,
Like,
I mean, at this point, you just have to. It's like, yes, could they be better? Of fucking course.
Well, at
absolutely.
some point, it's going to bite them in the ass.
I know that.
They're going to go too far with it.
I know.
And then they have and the way they keep churning this stuff out, at one point, one of these are going to become a big disaster because they've gone too far with it. Then they're going to have to issue all these fucking reshoots all over the damn place because, oh my god, people don't like the humor anymore.
I think it's kind of starting a little bit.
Yeah, with Thor, Love and Thunder, I think.
Thor, Love and Thunder, Eternals before that didn't do that well. No. It wasn't received that well. Then you had the Miss Marvel show, which people didn't like.
Nope.
And then you got this that
Hawkeye didn't do that great.
Also seems kind of divisive. Yeah, Hawkeye didn't do that good, even though I thought it was all right show. But yeah, I think it's starting to happen. It's just gonna.
Yeah. They got greedy. They're sort of oversaturating their own success. And, I mean, at some point, people are going to stop giving a shit about anything with superheroes in it.
And not to mention, once you, make them all the same, it's harder. Because, I mean, even go back to the early stages of the MCU, like Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, they all felt like different movies.
Mhm.
Now all the MCU stuff just feels exactly the same. Exactly, like you know what to expect. It's a CGI mess that the people probably didn't have enough time to finish doing because they're under the crunch. We got to have it out the Christmas 2023 or, you know, whatever reasoning behind that. And then it's just relying on that same ebb and flow of like jokes are fine in movies. Like I have no problem, but when you oversaturation, as Tyler said, you use it too much, then you just like, it pulls you out in a way to where you're just numb. You're not feeling anything anymore, you know? Like when I think about how you and I felt when we went and saw, you remember when we saw the first Avengers movie, how we felt? Now it's just like I'm numb to it. Like I watch it and I'm just like, okay, yeah, it was another one. They made another one, you know? Like it's shitty to feel that way.
It's not impactful about it. It's not. They don't. Well, none of them leave their marks. Like people all up in arms about Black Panther because it's the first Black superhero. No, it's not. But because it's connected with Avengers and the current Marvel movies that are making shitloads of cash, people want to act like, oh my god, it's breaking new ground. Like, no, it's not, people. And the movie sucks too. So, you know,
yeah, I don't know.
And people just so love to be a part of like the trend. And
I think that's the biggest part of it is just that big event feel. It's like you got to go see it, otherwise, like your life's incomplete and you're a fucking loser. You know?
Yeah.
It's
What are you
like,
going to brag about on social media? You weren't there.
Yeah, you weren't there. You weren't there. And I get that too because you and I were also like that back in the past. We had to be there opening night for certain movies,
but for our own sake, because we were so excited to see it,
Yeah.
not so we could go tell all those that we saw it.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
You know,
Yeah,
that was more about because we were
Touche.
there because we wanted the movie, not
Touche.
you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
No, we were different and better. Emphasis on better.
No, well, you know, hey, like I said before, if people are still at this after all this time, are still anything they churn out, you're still excited about it and ready to consume it. Like, hey, man, all the power to you. But don't get mad at us just because we're feeling the burnout pretty hard over here.
Well, yeah, because like, are you the type that like goes and watching? Oh man, the Chris Pratt, he's a funny motherfucker saying penis and shit, and then you go and read Punisher, like, this isn't funny. Where are the jokes? How come Punisher doesn't have any quips? This sucks.
Well, he's got quips, but it's just in a very
but not in a sense where they like looking at the camera and wink, wink.
Well, I know that. Well, it's a comic book. They're not really going to do that much.
Oh, because people are all about the Deadpool shit. Oh man, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, but
funny.
But see, like that was an all right transition from comic to screen because that's how that character is. That's what that character is.
Yeah, that's what the character is. But everyone's like, oh no, we got to get on the Deadpool bandwagon too. We got to be winking at the camera, and we can't take anything seriously. Not even the villains. Not even the end of the universe. We got to joke and dance around, and have dance numbers and shit, and it'd be funny. People are like, ha 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 ha. You know,
I got him on a rant.
It's nothing but a bunch of fucking tree stumps, foaming at the mouth.
Well, back to this. I will read the rest of this. Report back to you. Let them know the next time that we do another episode. You got any closing things you want to say that doesn't involve the MCU before we jump out of here?
Yeah. I just encourage anybody which I just kind of assume a lot of people probably read. Welcome Back, Frank. But any of the Garth and Steve Dillon run, if you only read a few issues, I encourage you to go check out any issue that those guys worked on together. I mean, they were such a magical duo. Steve did a beautiful job of reinventing the Punisher world. Like, it's very realistic in its take, and when it gets graphic, it gets graphic. But not in like an obscene amount, like where it's just like, oh man, blood. You know, it's not like that. No. But it's there.
Well, I mean, we with the polar bear swiping the head off. You just see the shadow work.
Yeah,
you get it. You see it. It's implied. It's not just like here, blood all over your face.
But a lot of great stuff, like that second arc too. Like, I mean, the Russian shows up in this one too. You know, which speaks for itself.
Okay.
He comes back in the second arc as well.
All right.
But it's definitely worth just checking anything that Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon worked on together in Punisher. I just can't emphasize that enough. They're easy reads, they're fun, they're dark, they're serious. It's perfect Punisher. It really is, and nothing's been better since in terms of comic books. I mean, but then you get the old like stuff in like the 80s and 90s with Martek Serra and those guys who worked on it back then too. But this to me is always going to be my Punisher.
And not a sponsor, but I would highly recommend if you guys want to follow along in the future, make sure they have a trial period. Check out Marvel Unlimited and
Absolutely.
see what you think about it. I think it's like $10 a month, or you can do it annually. One charge, $74 for the entire year, and it's awesome. You got tons of comics at your fingertips, especially, I mean, even like the newer stuff. They put the newer stuff in.
I'll be right back to you while you're doing the pitch. I'll be right back.
Yeah, if you want to jump in on that, it's pretty great. Like I said, even the newer stuff, you have to wait a few months, like the new stuff for that to pop on there. But I mean, stuff the last 20 years, if you were reading 20 years ago and want to jump back in, you can jump back in or do like I've been doing and just, you're kind of all over the place. So right now I'll talk about while Tyler's gone. I'll talk about what I have here just in my continue reading. So obviously I have this Punisher run that I'm going to finish. Ultimate Spider-Man, the Defenders, because I wanted to read a couple of the issues with the first full appearance of the Wrecking Crew. This is not She-Hulk related. It's just the timing of that is pretty bad. And I wanted to read the follow-up issue to that. Howard the Duck. I was interested in reading the stuff that came out, the run that came out in the 80s, but also the stuff that came out in 2015, because there was a short run that they did, and then they had another run after that went a little bit. Spider-Man Life Story, which is something that Tyler and I are going to talk about on this show. And there he is. We're going to talk about that at some point on one of them. I was talking about Spider-Man Life Story, that we will do an episode focused on that entire 6-issue arc, which I'm going to say is pretty fantastic. But going and reading out some of the other reviews, because I always get curious about that. I don't care about people's opinions before I've seen something or read something or whatever, but after I've watched it or I've read it, then I go and check out reviews. I'm like, well, let's just see what everyone else was thinking. See if anything like parallel, or if I'm just like, no, what? That doesn't make sense.
People were shitting on it?
I wouldn't say shitting on it, but there is a little bit of people that thought that maybe it was too glum and dark. Well, not dark, but just like melancholy, not depressingly sad, but just like, it's like, oh. But
yeah, but I kind of felt like that's what makes it, because I mean, it's not like Spider-Man's whole life has been.
Well, I know,
but
we'll save that for when we talk about it.
Okay.
On an episode. I was just going through and talking about the stuff that I had here. Obviously, Fantastic Four, Uncanny X-Men, Amazing Spider-Man, Thor, Moon Knight, some of that 80s Silver Surfer, and then I had Web of Spider-Man up because the Scarlet Spider arc, which was kind of paralleling with Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man, or was it Spectacular Spider-Man that all three of them were?
Well, there's Adjectiveless Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man.
And this
Spider-Man
arc was going through all of these books? I thought it was only just a couple of them.
Maximum Carnage went through all those books.
Jesus. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And that's why the comic industry went to shit when it did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think I named all the titles that were, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular, Spider-Man Unlimited, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and I feel like, there was a bunch.
But if you're wanting to jump back into comics, I would say do a trial run on this, do a trial run on DC Infinite, and see what you think about them. I mean, I do it on my phone. I read them on my phone. Tyler does the same thing, but you can also do it on your iPad. I haven't really messed with much of the functionality in terms of PC usage. It seemed a little clunky when I had signed up and was going to try it, so then I just stuck to my phone. But I would also recommend, because on my old Samsung Galaxy, Marvel Unlimited it would run good, but it would have a lot of hiccups on there. So I'd recommend maybe having a newer device, but it works on mobile too. I'll stop.
It works on my old ass phone.
The point is, I mean, just take a trial, give those a shot, and see if it's something, because it's definitely, I've really gotten into it ever since I started getting those apps.
And I know
reading something at least every week, I feel like. Even if it's just like 1 or 2 comics a week, it's either like that, a couple weeks will go by that I'm doing that, and then it's just like I'm full on reading multiple issues a day while I'm at work, you know. So it's a good way to pass the time as well. It's something to get you like really invested in and excited about. It's nice. I don't know if you do this, Tyler, but sometimes I'll just lay in bed and I'll start like just reading.
I did it a lot before I go to bed, like to kind of like get my brain to kind of like wind down. I just will read until the point where I can't comprehend the story. And like, okay,
yeah,
I'm
all right, phone's down.
Yeah,
let's go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I did it when I was at the beach. I lay in bed before going to sleep, or like when we got rained out.
Yeah,
we went back to the room. I just like sat in a chair and just read comics on my phone. I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man actually, just for the hell of it, before Nathan started reading it. It was just burning through issues while it was raining outside.
That one you get addicted to. I can't wait to like finish it, and then you and I just sit down and talk about the entire run, because that'd be a lot of fun just to break down, because there's a lot of stuff too that you're like, I don't remember that they were in there. Oh wow!
Yeah, because it's been so long since I've read so many. Because I read it up until Mark Bagley stopped drawing it.
Yeah, and I'm almost to that point now. He's only got a few more issues before he jumps off for a little bit, and then he hops back on at the very tail end of it. So we'll see how that goes. But we will talk about that one day. I'll go ahead and wrap this up now. It's like hour 41. That's not too bad.
Nah.
Yeah, well, you got to factor in all the bullshit you and I did before we started, but
which that was going to happen anyway. So.
But go go read this comic. If you have to do it through Marvel Unlimited, or if you have another means, hey man, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed this. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the Punisher, or just any of the stuff we talked about in general. If you got an opinion on the MCU and you feel like we're in the wrong for being this burnt out about it, say so.
If you think Anaconda is a phenomenal film and it's better than Jaws, one, I really don't want to hear from you, but
do it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway. Leave in the comments. We're not we're not going to sit there and remove people who have an opinion that's different from ours. We're not like some of those other channels who are like, oh, I'm going to remove their comment because I don't like what they had to say, and then charge you money for it.
No, I've only removed like the spam, and then some of the there have been a couple back in the day that were very, like, I don't want to say vulgar because it wasn't like too bad, but it was just so mean.
I think I remember there was one targeted at me. I think one time.
I think it may have been, and I was like, I don't know, but feel free to do that now.
I thought it was funny.
Well, we'll read them.
Yeah, but I'm like, we're not the type of people who are going to argue with people over the internet. I don't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's just lame and it's a waste of time. And
but hey. Like, leave the opinions. Like, comment and leave an opinion. Just be like, hey, man, that was cool. Or, hey, man, like, that sucked. Or also, if you have any recommendations, preferably Marvel or DC, just because it's easier on the apps. But if you got anything else, drop them down below. Leave us with this. Febmon, will we have the full cast for Fans of Power Sunday? I would want to say yes, but I can't promise anything.
Yeah.
So no promises.
That's what's supposed to happen. But
supposed to happen. We'll see how it goes. Because, I mean, hey, things come up. Last minute, of course. There's been plenty of times where Rebecca's had to bail. There's been times where Tyler's bailed and Joe's bailed last minute, and then the cheese stands alone, So yes, and I think if all goes well and all is still according to plan, we will have a guest. And it's not someone that we've had on the show before. So we will see how that turns out. And I'll leave you with this. After you leave your comments and you like the video and you're not already, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified when we go live at odd times on odd days. That's not our typical schedule. And until next time, we'll see you next issue. No quote? Figure you still do a quote? No, not doing that on this one. That's the Fans of Power thing, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could quote.
You start hitting me with comic book trivia that I will never get.
God. I guess we could do something like that at the end of each comic book podcast.
No, I'm not.
No, not a quote, but I mean like some sort of like little God. I don't know what to do.
We'll figure it out.
We're still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
But the Marvel Action Universe. If anybody remembers watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Dino Riders, and RoboCop. slash Pride of the X-Men pilot. If anybody remembers watching those in 1988 and 89, like leave it in the comments section or look it up on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. Look up the Marvel Action Universe intro, not the one from the 90s, but the one from 88, 89. I mean, and you'll know it when you see it, and it's like Saturday morning is like watching this little block of cartoons that was my first introduction to watching Spider-Man. That and the 60s Spider-Man cartoon on VHS had a Kingpin episode on that I always remembered. Good stuff, man. But
there we go. We'll leave you with that, and I will also say that I think no promises here, but I want to say maybe the next time we do this might have a logo, might have new intro. It won't be now for something different intro being recycled for this purpose. We'll see. Might not be ready by the next time, but maybe the time after that. Just have to tune in and find out, I guess. See you next time.
Take care.